This is it. Week number 11. The last regular season game and the precursor to next week's Western Division Championship match. Hi, I'm George Walker, along with Will Kerb. Good afternoon and welcome to Milwaukee, Oregon, as we conclude the 2016 MLU regular season exactly the way we started, Seattle versus Portland. It's been a wet week in the Rose City, but today the sun was supposed to come out. Temperatures at game time were going to be in the mid-70s. But Mother Nature has decided to take a different course. There's been rain and thunder in the Portland metro area this afternoon, and now we're expected to reach only about 64 for the opening pull. Currently, we are under blue skies and sun, but that has been an on and off again issue all day long as it just dumped 2 or 3 times in the last couple of hours here at the stadium. Will, welcome back for your second week.
Good to be back.
The Rainmakers lost here opening day, and again in week 2 to the Stags up there. But they've been a power since then. They're untouchable in the Western Division ever since that. Brad Hauser is one of Seattle's main leaders. Against the Stags this season, he scored 6 goals, has 4 assists against only 1 turnover.
Yeah, Brad Hauser is a huge downfield presence for the Rainmakers. He's a constant threat while cutting deep, and if he's not cutting deep, he's cutting under to get the disc. He's got great timing and awareness. So far in the season, he's got 27 goals, 14 assists, and 3 blocks. That's tied for the lead with Timmy Purston, the Stags' great cutter, and has scored goals in every game he's played. He's a great pressure release for the Rainmakers. They get a short field turn. They're looking to get the disc to him early to quickly convert those points. He's a key downfield player to the Rainmakers, and we're going to see a lot from him today.
Now, if I said to you, 32 points, 27 goals, 5 assists, 7 blocks, what would you say to me?
Timmy Purston. As we just mentioned earlier with Brad Hauser's numbers, he has been a huge force cutting for the Stags, and he's just does everything for them. With that many goals, it's hard to argue with his downfield cutting presence. He scored in 5 of his 106 career games, with only 1 game having not scored. It's amazing. Also, add to his numbers, in the second season of the MLU, he only played 1 regular season game, but scored 10 goals that game, which is just astounding. So, Purston's threat as a goal scorer comes from anywhere on the field. They look for him with hammers, backhands, forehands. You'll find Cody Bjorkund, one of his favorite targets is Timmy Purston. So he'll either score or get the space open for the rest of the team.
Okay, keys to the game today for Seattle. They're 0-2 against the best in the West, the Stags. But they're 7-0 against everybody else. The Rainmakers lost up in Seattle to the Stags. They lost here to the Stags opening day, but the average of loss was only 3.5 points. Since then, they've been outscoring their opponents by basically 8.5 points a game. So the way they're gonna win this game today is to break the Stags, score early, score often, let the Stags know that they're in this ball game for real. And now the interesting thing is, last week, both the Stags and the Rainmakers played San Francisco, so we have a head-on-head comparison. Seattle was behind by 6 points at halftime, 15-9. They came back in the second half and pulled the win out, 22-18. So they made up 10 goals in that second half. From your point of view, what does Portland have to do to win today?
Portland, perfect in the West so far this season. Their only loss has been their cross-divisional game over playing against Boston. They're only 1 game away from being undefeated on the season, and unfortunately that 1 game they lost wasn't in the division, so you always kind of have to ask about that. Portland has some individual players that have been fantastic this season from points leader Cody Bjorklund with 53 points on the season to Timmy Purston with 27 goals on the season. Bjorklund again, 37 assists, and break goals, Peter Woodside with 19. With the Stags doing so well this season, it's time for them to just finish it out and really just play a solid game here that can cross over into the Western Conference Finals next week.
Well, that's what you've got right here at Milwaukee High School. Seattle against Portland. The Rainmakers versus the Stags, a classic Northwest battle. You can toss out the win and loss records for this one. Both teams will play for the Western Division Championship right here next week. This one, my friends, is all about letting the other team know who's boss heading into next week's championship game. And we are just about ready for the opening pull. The teams are about to be announced. They're still in their locker rooms at this point, but we will go over the starting lineups for you for both teams. For the visiting Seattle Rainmakers, Chris Rupp is starting. In 2 games against the Stags this year, Rupp has an assist, a block, and 4 turnovers. He's been in the league 3 years now, handler position from Carleton College. Daniel Greenlee didn't play against Portland in the other 2 games. He's a rookie out of the F.W. Olin College of Engineering. He's a hybrid, and if you've never heard of that college, either had I looked it up. The average incoming freshman with a possible SAT score of 2,400, F.W. Olin, their freshmen have a SAT of 2,300.
Wow.
You got to be somebody to get into that school. Also starting for the Rainmakers, Ben Beener is a goal, a block, a turnover in Week 1 against the Stags. Didn't play in Week 2. He's a cutter and a 4-year man in the league. Luke Jepson, also a starter for Seattle. He's a rookie cutter out of UPS in Tacoma. That's your school.
Yeah, I've actually played in college with Luke.
Okay, well, in 2 games against Portland, he's got a goal in Week 2. Evan Klein, 2-year man. He's a cutter out of Virginia Tech, starting for Seattle. He has 5 goals, an assist, 3 blocks, and 2 turnovers in 2 games against the Stags this year. Also starting is Ben Feely. Excuse me, I need to get the frog out of my throat here. Ben Feely is a 3-year handler out of Seattle U. Against Portland this year, he's been in 2 games, 4 assists, a block, 6 turnovers in those 2 games. He hasn't been very sure-handed for the Rainmakers. And also starting for Seattle is Cam Bailey. 4 goals, an assist, 3 blocks, and a turnover on opening day. Didn't play the second week against the Stags. He's out of Central Washington. He's a hybrid who's been in the league for 2 years. Portland starters.
We've got Eli Blackman.
Eli Blackman. He has been in the league 4 years. He didn't play in the first 2 games against Seattle, but out of this year, he has 4 points total, a goal, 3 assists, and 2 blocks. Of course, Cody Bjorklund is starting, the 4th-year handler. Against Seattle this year, he's picked up 4 goals, 7 assists, 2 blocks, and he's turned the disc over twice in 2 games. He's out of the University of Oregon. Chris Hancock is starting for the Stags. He's out of Oregon State, 4 years in the league. He's a hybrid. He had 2 assists in Week 1 against the Rainmakers. Of course, Timmy Purston is starting. Mm-hmm. That's no surprise to anybody. Timmy is in his 4th year with the Stags and in the league. By the way, he is number 1 in the leagues with goals, 27 goals this year. He's played in both games against Seattle going into this one. His 4 goals, 2 assists, a block, and 2 turnovers, but the turnovers were in Week 2. Tad Jansen gets the start for the Stags. second-year player. He's a handler out of Pacific Lutheran, also in the Tacoma area. Against the Rainmakers this year, 2 assists, a turnover in week 1, and he didn't play in week 2. Rafi Hayes was probable because of that sore hip that he kept him out of the game last week. He is going to start for Portland. The fourth-year cutter is the league's number 4 in points with 37, in blocks with 14, and assists with 21. And finally starting for Portland, Ben McGinn, number 21, the fourth-year handler out of Whitman College. Picked up 4 goals, 6 assists, and 1 turnover in 2 games against the Seattle Rainmakers so far this year. So those are your starting lineups as we get ready for both teams to come onto the field. We were delayed in our start today because of the weather and people coming in. We're just having a hard time getting here. I know you came in from a couple of hours away and hit that big, terrible rain and hailstorm.
Yes, I was quite loud in my car coming down here. I was surprised that my baby slept through it. Very impressed.
One thing about Ultimate, it is definitely a family sport. A good crowd on hand for the weather. And as we said, we've been battling rain and torrential rain this afternoon. But it is one of those things is due to pass any minute, we're told. But so far, it's blue skies and sun here at Milwaukee. You know, we want to thank our sponsors of Major League Ultimate. Skippy, the official peanut butter of the Portland Stags, made with the funnest ever peanuts. Skippy, yippee. And Canterbury, the official apparel supplier of Major League Ultimate. Visit www.canterburyus.com. The destination for all your team's custom uniform and athletic apparel needs. Canterbury, proud partner of Major League Ultimate. Committed to Ultimate. They are just getting ready to announce over the public address system the starters for the game. Will, we were talking when we got here today about this game compared to what we've seen in the first 2 games, the rest of the season, and what lies ahead for next week. And you were saying you're expecting a totally different game today than what you're expecting to see next week.
Yeah, with so much on the line next week and so little this week, while you're never going to see these the rivalry between these teams not hot. They're both going to want to win. You're going to see the coaches hold a couple things back this week. They're not going to show their hand the entire way because they want to have that edge next week. They don't want to have the edge this week.
So do you expect both teams to, as the game goes along, if it's really close, to keep their top players in, and if it starts to drift away on one side or the other, maybe pull their top guys and let some of the rookies get some time?
We might see a little bit more rookies. I don't think they're going to pull their top players just because you want to make sure they still have that confidence coming into the next game. You don't want to take away any of those reps that they're going to need to have under their belt when everything's on the line. But we might see a few more of the rookies playing more significant roles in the offense.
Does anybody change their offense today to try to protect what they want to do for next week?
I can't see them changing it too much. They were tweaking it last week against the Dogfish. So were the Stags. The big issue that we're going to see is perhaps some different people playing handlers. The Rainmakers didn't bring down a full lineup this week, or quite. They brought most of their team, but there are a few people missing that we might see some rookies filling in that we normally wouldn't there.
One of the main players for Seattle, Khalif El Salam, is gone for the rest of the season, as I understand it. He's playing in the mixed worlds.
Yeah, and London.
In London, yes. So when you take one of your big studs out of the lineup like that, how do you compensate?
that's always hard to fill in. I was talking to the Stags coach, Danny Corral, before the game, and we were talking about Timmy Person not being around at the second season, only playing one game. And what he was telling me is it's so much more fun as a coach when you don't have your top players in, because then you can't just have that relief valve that we're just going to throw it deep to Timmy, or, and the Rainmakers, we see Khalif going deep, we can put it to him, he's going to get the disc. Mm-hmm. It means that the coaches will look to play a much more technical game, and mistakes are easier to see when you're, especially in practice, you go, that's where our problem in the field is. We don't have something that's just an easy relief valve for us.
So some things will change, and some things will change a lot, I probably should say, and some things will change just a titch. And we'll see as the game goes along. The Stags are being introduced in front of us. Starting lineup's been introduced. Here come the rest of the Stags. Seattle's already been introduced, and we are about ready to play some Major League Ultimate. And it is now turning into really a nice day here.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible what I'm seeing out this window.
Just waiting for the Stags to finish low-fiving and high-fiving everybody as they go down the line. And now we will have the singing of our national anthem.
So proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Rousing applause from the fans below us as the two teams get ready for their opening pull. This is Hawaiian Day here.
Weather turned out all right. I was a little bit worried on my drive down.
The trade winds are not blowing very, very strong here today, but everybody's in their Hawaiian shirts and their mucklucks and their heavy coats, but the Hawaiian shirts are underneath. Seattle has not taken the field yet. They're having a discussion with their head coach, getting ready for this.
Definitely hear the MC getting crowd going tonight.
Yes.
We have
Yes.
our guest MC, Ted Werble, who was famous for his running the team when he worked with the Rainmakers 2 years ago, but has since moved down to Portland and is filling in for Ranger Dan today.
Everybody's getting ready to go. Danny Quarrell has the Stags out about the 20-yard line, having a final discussion with them. Seattle sends their starters out. Seattle's going to pull the disc first. They are moving from our right to our left. Portland will receive, move left to right. And we are about ready to go. Both teams coming off wins. Both teams coming off wins against San Francisco.
Yes.
So we will see where we are as we move through this game. Portland likes to go for the long ball and score early and often, as you know, if you've been with us all season long. Seattle, the last time we saw them, played sort of a short game. Little short passes, worked up the disc just 5-10 yards at a time, where Portland goes for that big strike. Referees are getting everything ready to go and getting into position. Both teams are up, and we are almost ready to start the final regular season game of the 2016 season.
Looks like we're going to have Cam Bailey pulling for the Rainmakers.
Cam Bailey, the second-year hybrid out of Central Washington University, is ready to let her fly. Here we go. The match is on. Smith gets it. As the Stags are working close to us, Cody Bjorklund with the disc. Coming up to Rafi Hayes at the 50-yard line. Hayes quickly gets rid of it and moves in to the Rainmaker end of the field. Now we're moving back a little bit. Jansen across to Hayes. Rafi's looking to go deep. He goes to about the 11-yard line. Smith looks for anybody to give it to. That's Jansen with it. About the 22. Tad is going to come across field to Cody Bjorklund. Just short of the hash marks. Cody's going in to the end zone. That's Trevor Smith for goal number 1. It took 52 seconds for the Stags to score.
That was just a great breakthrow by Cody Bjorklund. Wraparound backhand to find the open man. Just streaking along the end zone there. Stags showed a lot of patience there. There was a couple open men in the end zone that they looked off early. We'll see if they keep that up, but it showed that they really didn't want to let the Rainmakers sink their teeth in their defense.
Moving the disc, and they moved it in chunks, not small ball. They moved that dish, except for a couple of passes, in chunks as they moved down to the end zone and picked up the first goal this afternoon. So Portland's going to let her fly.
Stephen Rice, our puller.
And there she goes. That's Stephen Goosen with it to Dewey Valentine. And it's going to fall incomplete. Clay Dewey Valentine couldn't complete that one, so the Stags will pick it up. Supnick with it. Over to Cole. And the Stags are going to move. Long disc and another score. Brian Penner drags it in the back of the end zone for Portland's second score. 8:43 to go in the first quarter, and Portland leads 2-0. That was quick.
Yeah, Brian Penner's quickly become one of the easy targets for the Stags to look for on the D-line. If we didn't have so many other star cutters on the Stags, I can see Penner being one of the top guys on the team. But being behind Purston and Woodside, it's hard to get those numbers up when you have so many other targets that are getting so many goals. But he's been a guy I've been watching all season with a lot of enthusiasm.
Stephen Rice with a pull for Portland. Seattle finds themselves down early by 2. Clay Dewey Valentine with the disc. That's Walton, who quickly gives it back to Dewey Valentine. Here come the Rainmakers. And yes, they score. Bringing that disc down is Peter Ostergaard. So we now have a 2-1 ball game with 8:28 to go. Just not even 20 seconds between goals.
Yeah.
But this is what happened last time, and that we saw Seattle here. It was a game that was back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, until Portland finally pulled ahead in the fourth quarter. 8:28 to go in the first quarter, and we haven't played 2 minutes yet, and we already have 3 goals.
Yeah, it's very different than last week, I'll say. Where I think we're quite at 1 goal at this point.
That's right. We waited a long time last week. Seattle with the pull. Portland's going to ring. Oops, there's a whistle.
Looks like offsides on Portland.
Offsides on Portland.
So now, with an offside call, what happens with the disc?
The disc is going to start in the Stags end zone with the Rainmakers able to set up on defense.
The offsides call, Portland starts off in their own end zone.
And an impressive huck by that ref.
Yes. Okay, so the Stags start in their own end zone. Seattle gets to set their defense. There's the whistle, and we are ready to go. Jansen, make that Hayes, sorry, with the disc. He's going to come out to Purston. And now the Stags are finally out of their own end zone as Chris Hancock brings it down. Stags are now just trying to go and play some small ball. Cordy Bjorklund here on the near side. Going back. That's Ben McGinn with it at the 30. Ben comes up.
Some sputtering on offense here.
Trevor Smith. And Ben McGinn has it again. He's marked by Brink. And I don't know sometimes what's going to happen with that disc, as now there's a whistle. And there is going to be a foul on Seattle.
Really not a lot of contact there, but he did kind of come through Adamson's head at the end. Was not intentional, but definitely something the refs are going to be concerned about.
The foul was on Drew Lockhart at the hash marks. Cody Bjorklund, he's coming down very quickly there to Timmy Purston. Back to Smith at the 45. Portland's looking for somebody to give to. Very, very tight defense by Seattle here. Bjorklund at the 20. And he's going to go all the way across field, heading for Chris Hancock. And Hancock was all alone on the far side of the end zone.
So an important point to watch tonight is Cody Bjorklund, coming into this game, was 11 points away from the scoring record for goals and assists. That's his second assist, so he's now 9 away. We could see that record broken.
See history made today. 6:44 to go in the first quarter. It's a Portland lead, 3-1, and it has been score after score. This has been a high-paced match so far.
Which is very surprising because these are both considered to be defensively minded teams.
Not today so far. 3-1. Portland Stags out in front. 6:44 to go. That's Rice on the pull. And Seattle goes back on offense. Clay Dewey Valentine. Going back to Walton. Up to Dewey Valentine. Fakes the throw, and then it's blocked. Vin Bowie with the block. So Portland gets it back. Rice with it. Right in front of us here on the hash. With the hammer back into about the 45, Portland side. Supnick to Davis, and a long throw to Stephen Rice, who just grabs it and gets rid of it. Stags are moving into the attack zone at about the 25. Down into the 20, looking for someone. Nobody free in the end zone right now. and a whistle.
Sounds like a pick.
Dan Supnick has the disc, and there was a pick, so that's going to be a 10-yard penalty against Portland. So Supnick will put the disc back into play about the 24-yard line. Grant Cole with it, goes into the end zone. Yes! Brian Penner scoops it off the carpet for yet another Portland score. 4-1 with 5:22 to go in the first period. Portland leads Seattle 4-1.
That was a very small window that Cole threw into there.
And that's 2 for Penner today.
Yeah.
So he is coming out from out of the shadows
Yeah.
in this last game of the year. That was a great catch by Penner, having to go right down on the carpet to bring it out.
Really was. I was trying to shift my view to see it perfectly, and I didn't quite see it, so I was kind of amazed that he came up with it.
It's now a 4-1 Portland lead. 5:22 to go in the first, but it's way too much ball game left to count Seattle out of this one.
Oh, especially with their comeback last week. Seattle's never out of these games, it looks
No.
like.
Rice lets her fly, picked up at the 10 by the Rainmakers. As the Stags, we have a Stag down.
Looked like Grant Cole.
Went for the interception or the block and just didn't get up. We've got timeout on the field as the training staff is coming out. It does look like Grant Cole, who went down. Looks like it's a hand or a wrist from here. Oh, he's holding on to that puppy.
Yeah, that's, I hope it's something easy like a jammed finger or something that can happen with those layouts and not anything more serious.
Grant Cole, the fourth-year handler out of Lewis and Clark College in southwest Portland. He's holding on, but he's beginning to move it just a little bit. But, ooh, that hurts all the way up here.
Yeah.
Back to the match as Seattle gets the disc in their own territory. Trying to break the Portland defense up to about the 41-yard line. That's Breen with it. He's going to go back, and we're going across the field right in front of us as Portland. Very tight marking of the Seattle offense. Feely with it. Going to put it in the middle of the field. That's Klein with it. He's going to go into, about the 11-yard line. I thought he was going to pick that one up and score with it, but didn't quite get there. Klein gets it back. He's at the 15, playing it back to the 20. And now, just as Seattle lets it go, that was Feely that let it go. There was a whistle when the disc was in the air. They got a travel called.
Sure, yeah. Portland's a little unhappy with that, but...
Yes, Portland knocked it away. So now we need to have a little discussion with the referees to see what exactly should have been called and will be called. Portland leads this one 4-1. Exactly 4 minutes to go in the first quarter. Seattle keeps possession. That's Dan Walton with it. There's the whistle, and we're back into play. Klein goes deep. It's going to fall incomplete. He was trying to hit a cutter going into the end zone, and it just fell away from everybody. So Portland picks it up on the turnover. Supnick with it. Going to play it back into the end zone, and no, he was going back for Stephen Rice and threw it away. It's a turnover in the end zone, which means the Rainmakers will get the disc at the 10, which in MLU is the goal line. There they go, and yes! Brad Hauser pulls it in. From our vantage point here, I thought that was a good 5 feet, maybe 6 feet beyond his reach, but Hauser laid out for it and brought her in. So Seattle now has 2. 3:19 to go, first period. Portland 4, Seattle 2.
Hauser is really great at getting those discs that just look out of reach. He not afraid to put his body on the line to get on the turf and pull those discs in.
Well, as we talked about at the top of the show, Hauser has been a mainstay for the Rainmakers all season long and has just been everywhere for them all over the field.
Yeah, he was a great cutter last season, but he's just brought it up to another level this season. You can see before he was one of the other cutters that they'd look to get the disc to. This season, he is one of their primary people they want to have the disc.
And on the pole, there's another whistle, and it's offsides against the Seattle Rainmakers.
So now the Stags will get it at the middle of the field as opposed to last time when they got it in their end zone.
What's the difference?
Well, so last time was the
pulling team that was offsides rather than... But wasn't Seattle the pulling team?
Yeah, so Seattle's last time it was
I'm missing something here.
Yeah. Because last time the Stags were receiving the disc.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Yeah,
all right.
there we go.
Thank you for clarifying because I was lost. The Stags score again. Pulling it in is Tad Jansen. 2:59.
And we saw the assist there from John Seymour, number 47, who we've seen a lot more out of this year. When I talked to Danny Quarrell at the beginning of the season, he was like, Seymour is one of the guys that we really want to develop this season. And we've seen it. He's been getting better every game, and with great throws like that, you can see that he's going to become, in the future, going to be even bigger part of the Stags offense.
So we have 5-2 ball game, 2:59 to go in the first quarter. I don't think we had 7 goals in the. Did we even get about halfway through the second quarter last week before we even had 7 goals?
I don't think so. It was quite the low-scoring game.
This is what the type of game we love to do for you because it is really fun up here in the booth to see all of this scoring. Steven Gusson with the disc gets it on the reception. He gets it off to Dewey Valentine, who's going to go across the way. That's Breen with it. Nobody's marking him at about the 24-yard line. Breen lets it fly, complete to Entz. And Seattle is going deep once again. Can they pull it in? Yes, they can. At the goal line, very quickly, Seattle scores. That was Hauser with it, and he just dished it off to Robin Breen coming around, and we have yet another score. 5-3, 2 minutes, 31 seconds to go in the first.
Yeah, there's another great example of Hauser just being such a dominant downfield cutter. Going up against Peter Woodside there, getting the disc very high in the air. And then once he landed with it, he knows what to do with the disc. He's great throws, just easily put it in for Breen.
He's got great vision.
Yes.
He sees the field well, and he sees his teammates and where they're heading. I noticed that when the first game of the season when we had him here, and that's one of the things I took away from that game was how good he truly is.
Oh, yeah, he's a very young player still, so we should see him for years to come.
Seattle lets it fly. Going to hang at about the 15-yard line. Ted Jansen brings it down. Portland goes back on the attack. Working across the way from us, Cody Bjorklund with the disc, and he's going to let it fly, heading downfield for Fitzpatrick. Jared Fitzpatrick brings it in for Portland. 2:13 to play still in the first quarter, and it is 6-3, Portland over Seattle.
That was a little bit of blown coverage by Evan Klein. You don't see a lot of discs get over him like that. So I was kind of surprised to see Fitzpatrick going because he slipped right before his cut, so he was on the ground when the throw one up, but quickly regained himself and got down the field for that.
These guys, and I've said it almost every game we've done this year, is these are athletes.
Yes.
This is not your Uncle Ralph's Frisbee in the backyard. And I've used that before. You weren't with me when I did, but I did. Yeah, I admit it.
But it is, yeah, it's one thing to hear about them being athletes, but then seeing them make these athletic plays, you really get a feel of these guys are working very hard on the field and off the field to be at this level.
Silva with it, coming up to Hauser. Cross the way from us, looking, and gets it complete to Gusson, who's going to go back downfield, and Dewey Valentine picks it up for a Seattle score. A minute 46 in the first, 6-4, Portland.
Great to see Steve Gusson out there. He was a Stag in 2013. Got injured and then became the coach for the Rainmakers for the last 2 years, and now is a player again. So always love seeing Gusson out there.
It's always nice to see somebody come back from an injury and play again.
Yes.
This has been, we have 10 goals scored already, and we still have a minute 46 to go in the first period. And I'm not going to prorate here, but this could be a really high-scoring ball game.
Certainly looks that way. Looks we've got a midfield pull coming from Seattle after a 20-second timeout.
They're ready to pull from across the way at the 50. There it goes. High, and it's going to hang there. Going to drop about the 13-yard line, picked up by Portland. Clock starts to run. Cody Bjorklund at the hash right in front of us. Cody's going long. It's going to be complete. Hancock gets it, dishes it off to Hayes, and Portland scores in 4 passes.
And how many? 10 seconds.
10 seconds.
That's, I think you're right about saying this is going to be one of our more high-scoring games.
This has been, this has not been what you might call a defensive battle. And as you were mentioning, these two teams are known as being very good defensive teams.
They are currently, don't have the numbers in front of me anymore, as I did earlier this week, but they are 0.1 in difference between leading the league in their defensive scoring efficiency.
It's just amazing because nobody's waiting more than 20 seconds to score, it seems like.
Yeah.
So Portland pulls it yet again. That's Stephen Rice with the pull. Going left to the Rainmakers, Gusson to Dewey Valentine. And they're just going to play a little bit of catch with it as they're coming out to the hash marks. Breen with it, coming to our side to Hauser at the 33, 34-yard line. Still in Seattle territory. Hauser lets it fly. Coming down is going to be picked up at about the 15. Seattle very quickly coming back to score. Breen to...
Looked like Ostergaard.
It did look like Ostergaard. And that's 2 for Ostergaard. A minute 16, exactly 20 seconds between scores. It's 7-5. Portland out in front. And it's just been back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah, both teams looking to strike early and often. They're finding those little holes in the defense, and then as soon as they see them opening, they're putting the disc. They don't want to give up that advantage yet.
So as you look ahead a week, is this what we can expect to see next week for the championship game?
Well, I hope so, because it's going to keep things exciting. But I'm curious if there will be any adjustments on either's offense after seeing how well both of them have worked.
And they've worked well. Seattle lets it fly. That's Smith. Gets rid of it quickly. Portland coming back up as quickly as they can, but they're still playing in their own zone right now. McNally with it, about the 48-yard line. Looking to go downfield and throws it away. He was trying to hit John Seymour and just couldn't. And looks like Seymour is down. The second-year cutter out of Miami of Ohio. Seymour went down and hit, and he too is holding, looks like his left hand. Going back into the ball game for the Stags is Topher Davis to take Seymour's place. It will be Seattle disc at the 41-yard line. And the Rainmakers go on the attack. Quickly come into the Portland zone. Rupp with it. Hammers it to midfield. Up makes the hash marks. Picked off there by Klein. Klein's going to go long, wide. Is it complete? Yes, it is.
Just inbounds there.
Just got his feet in. So Seattle retains possession, playing just shy of the 50-yard line on the Portland side. Rupp with it. Goes to the hash marks. Defense is tight for Portland right now. Greeley lets it go. Feely with it and quickly went to Rupp. Rupp with it, hammers across to the near side. Almost broken up by Purston.
Foul on that play.
And a foul on the play. Timmy went high, but he ran into the offensive man. And that was Ben Beener.
Oh, and Beener signaling that they should be 10 seconds on the clock. See if they...
7.4 seconds to go in the first period. 7-5, Portland leads. And this has been a Donnybrook so far. Now the officials are going to put 10 seconds on the clock instead of 7. Beener, fourth-year cutter out of John Carroll University. Looks to the official. Now we're going to start to run. Clock starts. Beener looking into the end zone, looking for somebody to give to, and no, it was an incomplete throw. So Portland takes over as Bjorklund goes long and complete to McNally. McNally turns quickly,
but
gives it to Purston.
I don't believe that counted.
But it didn't count because time had expired. So at the end of one, both Seattle and Portland have decided they wanted to score early and score often, and they have. But at the end of the first quarter, it's Portland leading 7-5. Do you have a team trip or corporate outing coming up? If so, charter a private bus, a minibus, or a party bus from busrental.com, a U.S. Coachways company. Bus travel is one of the safest, greenest, and most affordable ways to get your group to an event. If you're going with a group, trust busrental.com. Enter coupon code MLUBUS and get additional savings and, I might add, VIP treatment. Innova is a proud supporter of Major League Ultimate and the incredible athletes that you're watching today. As their official disc of the MLU, the Innova Pulsar is quickly becoming the disc of choice at Ultimate's highest levels. Visit www.innovadiscs.com to find a dealer near you and pick up on an MLU disc. Referees are huddling about the 30. Teams are having a discussion with their coaches, and I might add more of a discussion by the coaches to the team. Danny Quarrell for Portland was very animated in talking to his team down there right in front of us. As Portland gets ready to come out to start quarter number 2. And it has been amazing so far with the scoring.
Yeah, that was just a dodged bullet there by Portland there. That would be just on the line for Seattle, and it would have been their first break of the game. Portland has 2 breaks, which is looks like could be a big deciding factor in this game. Neither defense has done a lot, so those 2 breaks might be much more important later in the game.
12 goals in the first 10 minutes. Now, even with my checkbook skills, that's a lot.
Yes.
More than a goal a minute. That's amazing. And these guys have been throwing this disc like crazy. Nobody's doing small ball. They're all going long. They're both trying to get the upper hand on the other's defense. And they're finding those seams.
Yeah, both defenses, they're not looking bad. It doesn't look like they're just giving up these shots. It looks like the teams are just finding those holes early and getting the disc right where it needs to be.
You've had a chance to see Seattle this year more than once, and this is only my second time seeing them. But I've been reading and hearing what a powerful club they have become.
Yes.
Is this the way they've played against everybody else in the Western Division since I saw them on opening weekend?
Pretty much. They have enjoyed to use their deep cutters. One of the reasons we talk about Brad Hauser is because they are putting the disc to him very frequently. They've got great handlers like Steve Gusson that can do that. We also see out here they have their nicknamed the Frost Giant Eyes Against, who's one of their big men, and it's been great for them on end of game things to get those buzzer beater blocks and buzzer beater scores. So they have been looking to score very quickly, huck early. Very different from what we saw last year from the Rainmakers.
Here we are, starting the second quarter. Portland puts it in the air, and it comes down to the 10. Here come the Rainmakers. Dewey Valentine with the disc at about the 21. He's going to come over to Gusson. Defense seems to be a bit tighter as Dewey Valentine gets the disc. He's going to turn, go long. Can he find somebody? No, the sliding. Todd Silva couldn't quite get to it. Turnover. Bowie picks it up for Portland, gets it back into play as Minor Shagan goes back to Bowie.
Shags playing with no rush here.
Portland working in front of us here on the near side of the field. Some tight little passes here. Davis with it. Topher comes down to the 43. That's Rice. And we're going to come back. Ooh, almost knocked away by Gusson. That was close. Portland did get the reception. They keep the disc and are now in Seattle territory. Looking for somebody. Bowie was by himself behind the defense, but no one saw him. Davis at the 31 comes in. Very tight marking by Seattle. Portland moves it back out between the hash. As Portland continues to play back about 30-yard line, just a little bit of catch. Minor Shagan with it. He's going to let it come our way to the hash marks. Coming back, looking for someone. Riley goes up, and yes, he got. Minor Shagan pulled it down. He was tightly marked there. I can't see the number. It looks like it was Evan Klein.
Or Walton, actually.
Walton, you're right. 32, not 22.
Yep.
As Minor Shagan dishes off to Dan Sepnik. And Portland scores to open up the second quarter, 7:57. It's an 8-5 Portland score. Portland was playing some small ball there. It looked to me from up here like the Seattle defense was causing that.
Seattle looked very hungry on D there. They wanted to get that that disc back. Didn't want to allow that break. We saw Portland take very smart passes. The only thing that looked anything risky was that shot up to Riley right at the end. But before that, Seattle had a couple looks that might maybe get a D, but it was mainly just smart passes that weren't contested.
Portland takes a 20-second timeout, so they're going to pull from midfield. Stephen Rice. Correction, that should be
Dan Shaw, it looks like.
Dan Shaw, yes. With the disc. Shaw, the third-year cutter. Going to let her go from the 50. Going deep into the end zone. And bounces just in. Seattle has to work from very, very deep in their own end zone. He's still deep, about 5 yards into their end zone. Keeps playing back. Brink comes out, trying to hit Klein, and there is a foul on Brian Penner of Portland. They say he went up the back of the Seattle receiver. Now we're going to talk about where we're going to spot the disc to get it back into play, about the 17-yard line.
Yeah, enough contact that I think a foul was warranted. Not sure Klein would have caught it, but...
And there's a long, long throw from Seattle that goes out of bounds.
Well,
that was about a 50-yard toss.
Yeah, but just never gave the cutter a chance for the disc because it just sailed out of bounds. James
Shaw going to put it in for Portland and puts it into the dirt. So that's going to be a turnover for Seattle at about the 44, 43-yard line in Portland territory. Rainmakers, they're making a game out of this one as they came in here looking to knock off the Portland Stags. Some quick passes by Seattle. Seattle moving into the end zone. Knocked away
by Peter Woodside.
Peter Woodside took it out of the air, blocked it, knocked it down. Peter's getting it back. And here come the Stags on offense in their own zone. They're going to go long, looking very long for Penner. Brian's going to slow down. Is he going to get it? Yeah! Oh, no. It was in his hands and just knocked away, but they're going to call a foul. It looks like it's going to be on Brink of Seattle.
Yes, foul on Seattle. Portland retains possession.
Penner slow to get up, but does. They're going to put the disc in play at the near side hash marks, about the 21-yard line. So 12 yards to the goal. Penner will put the disc in play for the Stags. He does to Rice. Going far side at the 10. There to Shaw, and Shaw goes to Woodside for another Portland score. 5:31 in the half, 9-5. Portland.
Yeah, just great to see the Stags do that little crossfield and then a dinky little throw to pop it in.
They started on our side at the hash and moved directly across the field with a couple of passes and then just a little flea flicker, and it was another score.
And it looks like another 20-second timeout.
So Portland will pull from midfield again. They're using their timeouts to get a better pull. Last time they did this, the disc ended up the very back of the end zone, about a disc width from being out of play. So it was a very good move on Portland's part the last time they did this 20-second timeout, so they could make the pull from midfield. Dan Shaw, third-year cutter, out of Whitman, will put it in play for Portland. High and short. Going to drop at about the 15. And it sits there. Nobody from Seattle. Dewey Valentine is going to walk over and pick it up, put it in play for the Rainmakers. He does. Working the far side. That's Ostergaard with it. Looking to give to somebody, and he does. Gets it moving out to Walton. Walton's going to turn and go along with it. Looking for Hauser. And it's taken out of the air by Riley Meinershagen at the 11. He goes to Vin Bowie, and the Stags are back on the offense.
Ooh.
Almost threw it away there. Great
Oh.
catch by Supnick, but then Supnick throws and it can't get to Riley Minershagen.
Just a
So
drop there.
Seattle takes possession and now comes into the Portland end of the field. Tight defense, and there is a whistle. Everybody's discussing what's going on here. Offensive contact, I think we heard the official say. So there'll be a 10-yard penalty.
Yes.
And so we march back 10 yards. Seattle keeps possession of the disc, but they're 10 yards back, which doesn't mean much for Hauser because he's going to let it fly, and now he goes back with it to Walton. Walton comes close on our side. That's Silva with it, middle of the field. Ostergaard, marked by 2. Goes to Dewey Valentine, who lets it fly, and it goes out of bounds, incomplete. He was trying to hit Walton, but it just was just a foot away from Walton, and he couldn't get it. So Portland will get it back. Right in front of us, near side. Dan Supnick puts it into play. He does, out to the hash marks. Portland playing in their own end. And they move quickly with some very nice little passes up into the Seattle zone. Rice with it.
Great pass by Rice there.
To Brian Penner, whose name we've called a lot today. Penner going far side. Stags just playing catch at about the 45-yard line, but now we're going to go in and see if, yes, another score. Stephen Rice gets the disc. Portland takes a 10-5 lead with 3:03 to go in the half.
The 3 breaks in a row for the Stags, which is not easy to do, and has really opened it up this game. Although our high-scoring offenses we haven't seen the Stags' offense on the field yet, and the Rainmakers are having a little bit trouble dealing with whatever the Stags have adjusted to doing.
It was 7-5 at halftime. It's now 10-5. Portland out in front. There is a full time out on the field. 3:03 to go in the first half. It has been goal to goal all the way until we got into the second quarter, and then Portland has slowly pulled away. Now, you can't count Seattle out of this. They were down by 1.5 million at halftime last Saturday in San Francisco. They were actually down by 6 goals. Came back and won the game by 4. So Seattle's offense is a strike very quickly kind of an offense. So they're not out of this by any way, shape, or form, even though they're down by 5 goals.
Yeah.
It's amazing. We talked about Brad Hauser at the top of the show. He's a second-year cutter out of Bellevue College. 6 goals, 4 assists, only 1 turnover in 2 games against the Stags this year. He's having another phenomenal game for Seattle.
Yes. I believe at least 1 goal and at least 1 assist so far, and just showing that he can get the disc wherever he wants to on the field. Just when they see Hauser going, they're going to put it to him, and he's usually going to come down with it. So far, he's had some great grabs in the air.
He's just an amazing, amazing player. And we've seen the Portland offense be a pretty balanced offense as far as that goes. They spread the scoring around. Granted, Penner's got a couple, but you see Rice and Woodside and Supnick. Fitzpatrick's got one. It's a totally balanced. Well, it's a balanced offense for the Stags.
One thing that has often been a problem with the Stags is that they look for. They have their star players, and so they're the players that you're expecting to get the disc. And a few times, opposing teams have been able to shut down guys like Cody Bjorklund, and then the Stags have been kind of stalled out then because who Cody's not getting the disc, and they need him to get the disc. This year, the Stags have really focused on making sure they're to balance that offense so that they can't get stalled like that.
Topher Davis with the pull. And Seattle comes back on the offense. Dewey Valentine coming near side. That's Cam Bailey. Out of the hash marks to Klein. Rainmakers, our side of the field. Smith with it. Smith is looking to go deep. Who's got it? Two Rainmakers. And, yes, one of them.
Brad Hauser.
Brad Hauser comes down with it. Those two guys, I couldn't tell who came down with it.
Yep.
But
Well,
Hauser tossed it back in, so we'll give it to him.
Yeah.
It's a 10-6 Portland lead, 2:40 to go in the half.
I was really impressed to see Topher Davis get down there and get in the mix there. It looked like an open look to Hauser, and then suddenly Topher was right there with him.
Two Seattle players coming in. Topher in the middle.
Hard to get that.
2-on-1.
Yeah.
Now there's a Seattle timeout. They want to pull from midfield as we get closer to the end of the first half. Only 2 minutes and 40 seconds to go. That is Seattle's first score of the second quarter.
Yes.
You can see the Seattle players are doing some pointing and doing some calculating of what they want to do once they get that disc in the air.
Well, first time for us to see the Portland offense this quarter.
10-6, Portland out in front. 2:40 to go in the half. Here comes the disc, and Portland picks it up at about the 5-yard line. They're out of their own end zone. Now they're back into it again. Very tight marking by the Stags. Portland's going to play in their own end zone for a little bit here, looking for someone to get free. Purston is, but they can't get it to him. They're going to get it to Bjorklund, though. Cody's going to let her fly. Long throw. That's Fitzpatrick bringing it in. Here come the Stags down to about the 15-yard line. Purston with it. He's going to let it fly into the back of the end zone. Brought down. Chris Hancock with the Portland goal. 11-6. Portland with 2:05 to go in the half. And that was a quick from the Stags got a bit stalled down here in their own end zone.
They were looking for that right throw. They didn't want to force anything. They did get it was a bit tight with that throw to Bjorklund with Bailey right there on his hip. But then as soon as Bjorklund got it, aired it out to Fitzpatrick, who he's been loving this season.
Fitz has played a great season. He was right in stride when he brought it down. So that puts Portland up again by 5, 11-6.
And we got that very special connection between Chris Hancock and Timmy Purston in the end zone. At the beginning of the season, I believe they've been playing together for 10 years now.
You can't beat that either.
Yeah.
That you know what the other guy is going to do and how they're going to do it. So Portland will pull from the 50. Shaw with the pull. It's high, and it is into the sun, coming back and landing at about the 22-yard line.
Very short midfield pull.
Clay Dewey Valentine picks up the disc for the Rainmakers. Gonna just some short passes back in their own area, about the 15-yard line, almost at end zone.
Yeah, they didn't quite get it to the end zone with that midfield pull.
Valentine with it. Comes to Gusson. Steve looking for somebody. Coming out our side, right at the hash marks, is Breen. Tight marking by Portland as Walton gets the disc and hands it off very quickly. Hauser with it at the 50. He's going to let it fly. He's got Robin Breen, but it's short and picked up by Portland.
Yeah.
Topher Davis pulls it out of the sky for the Stags, and here comes Portland down and incomplete, just off the fingertips
Kissing the fingertips there.
of Sam Frainer.
Oh, but
Almost brought it in. Dewey Valentine was with him though all the way.
Yes.
And now we have a travel.
Travel call on the field.
oh, a little bit ticky-tack. He didn't put his feet in right quite at the right spot. But it is a travel, but, you know.
So now they go back. The end zones here are
58 seconds to go.
20 yards deep. They will start at the 10. They'll start 10 yards deep in their own end zone. Gusson with it. And the Seattle Rainmakers are playing in their own end zone right now. Gusson looking for somebody to give to, and he does. He finds Walton. Walton is marked by Rice. Back to Gusson. Gusson wants to try to get this disc out, and he does, but it is knocked away in the air by Dan Shaw. So Portland gets the disc back and immediately scores yet another goal.
Another goal for Stephen Rice.
Rice with the reception, making it a 12-6 Portland lead. 2 minutes, 16 seconds to go, first half. Little mistake on Seattle's part, and Portland takes advantage.
Yeah.
And we were saying at the top of the show
Skippy, the official peanut butter of the
that
Portland Stags, made it
Seattle could not make these mistakes and stay in the ball game with the Stags.
No, the Stags are kind of like a steamroller. Their offense is going to always get those points, and really they have a good enough – their defense is going to add points on every little bit at a time, and so by the end of the game you're going to really have that issue where you find yourself down far more than it felt like when you were playing.
12-6, Portland out in front. And I said 2:16 to go in the half. I mean 21.6 seconds. And the pull goes out of bounds at the 15. Seattle works out of their own territory.
20 seconds to go here. Stags looking to keep Seattle out of the end zone
The Rain-
before the end of the first half.
The Rainmakers at the 50. That's Hauser with it. Hauser to Klein. Klein's going to let it fly, and it's going to fall incomplete.
Fall short. As we tick down to
And
the end of the first half.
that is the end of the first half.
Portland Stags are up 12-6. Go
And
crazy,
the score is Portland 12, Seattle 6. Canterbury, the performance apparel partner to Major League Ultimate. Visit www.canterburyus.com today. The destination for your team's custom uniforms. Canterbury, committed to excellence. And Skippy, the official peanut butter of the Portland Stags, made with the funnest peanuts ever. Skippy, yippee. 12-6, Portland leads at the half. Will and I will be back for the second half of action in just a couple of minutes.
Experience, man. You turn around and you look and there's this big giant animal running towards you.
When I first started commentating, it was kind of tough for me because it's like, well, I can be out there too. I can play with these guys. Well, why am I up here in the booth?
Jeff Grant he's a freaking monster. He can sort of just do it all, you know.
A few of my students were like, "We saw you on the bus." I was like, "I don't ride the bus." No, you're on the side of the bus.
Sankeen going to float it out here right towards us at the 49-yard line. Naradu lets it fly, and San Francisco comes down with it. It was a double catch. And coming down with it was Shane Earley right there at the 11-yard line.
What defense from the Dogfish? A team, I mean, it's like a new Dogfish. It's a team that we have not seen on the prior games for Dogfish versus Rainmakers.
Nice pull from Rupp. Has him in the very back of the end zone. This could be Callahan. It's Khalif El-Salam with the Callahan. What an impact player. Gets the Callahan score. Great pull by Rupp. Puts him in the back of the end zone. Throw goes up, and it's Khalif El-Salam.
One error here today, but since he's been here, he's been a confident throwing influence on their team on the whole.
And we'll see another throw here by Bartenstein. And we've got a play on the disc. Khalifa will try it with the second effort. There's Delrico Johnson sliding in on the second attempt. So you mentioned with Bartenstein, and while that first initial throw, I mean, it was basically right on the money. The wind took it a little bit and allowed Gabe Colton to get in there for the D. But what it allowed was a second effort, and Delrico Johnson was there.
Yeah, and we see the D attempt here. It looked like Khalifa might have gotten two hands on it, but the chase there by Johnson was perfect. He was on basically sort of the mid of the field here, was even a little bit behind Khalifa as the disc went up, but he saw that there was an opportunity for anything to happen. If neither of those players had touched it, it might have floated up on its own. Bartenstein got a lot of power on that pass, put it out in front, and you got to give the second effort.
So they're going to have to hurry. Here's Norbum looking for Amanda Huck deep, but there's nobody down there. So with 5 seconds remaining, Nick Hiranet with the D. I don't think he'll have time to get one off. He throws it off anyway. So Sickles has time expiring in the end zone. So the Philadelphia Spinners capitalizing at the end of the first quarter. Nick Hiranet with the D, and then quick thinking there to the end zone. Billy Sickles really never came downfield to play any defense, just stayed in the end zone.
There was no reason for him to, especially with DC just didn't seem to know what to do on offense. Norman was just holding the disc there, looking for a deep shot, when really he should be looking to distribute the disc downfield somewhere else. The throw that he took, that throw was open 4 seconds ago. He had to throw that earlier. And here we have Nick Hiranet just being so aware of the time and the situation. He's obviously trying to make that catch right away. They could have used another player on the mark there, but it seems like every time Hiranet is involved in a play from this sideline going up to that end zone, something incredible happens.
The team dynamic is just to have as much fun as possible.
It's an experience, man. You turn around and you look and there's this big giant animal running towards you.
When I first started commentating, it was kind of tough for me because it's like, well, I can be out there too. I can play with these guys. Why am I up here in the booth?
Different is he's a freaking monster. He can sort of just do it all, you know.
A few of my students were like, "We saw you on the bus." I was like, "I don't ride the bus." No, you're on the side of the bus.
McKeague to Sankeen. Going to float it out here right towards us at the 49-yard line. Naradu lets it fly, and San Francisco comes down with it. It was a double catch. And coming down with it was Shane Earley right there at the 11-yard line.
What defense from the Dogfish, a team, I mean, it's like a new Dogfish. It's a team that we have not seen on the prior games for Dogfish versus Rainmakers.
Nice pull from Rupp. Has him in the very back of the end zone. This could be a Callahan. It's Khalifa Salam with the Callahan. What an impact player. Gets the Callahan score. Great pull by Rupp. Puts him in the back of the end zone. Throw goes up, and it's Khalif El Salam.
One error here today, but since he's been here, he's been a confident throwing influence on their team on the whole.
And we'll see another throw here by Bartenstein. And we've got a play on the disc. Khalifa will try it with the second effort. There's Delrico Johnson sliding in on the second attempt. So you mentioned with Bartenstein, and while that first initial throw, I mean, it was basically right on the money. The wind took it a little bit and allowed Gabe Colton to get in there for the D. But what it allowed was a second effort, and Delrico Johnson was there.
Yeah, and we see the D attempt here. It looked like Khalifa might have gotten two hands on it, but the chase there by Johnson was perfect. He was on basically sort of the mid of the field here, was even a little bit behind Khalifa as the disc went up, but he saw that there was an opportunity for anything to happen. If neither of those players had touched it, it might have floated up on its own. Bartenstein got a lot of power on that pass, put it out in front, and you got to give the second effort.
So they're going to have to hurry. Here's Norbum. Looking for a man to huck deep, but there's nobody down there. So with 5 seconds remaining, Nick Hiranet with the D. I don't think he'll have time to get one off. He throws it off anyway. So Sickles has time expiring in the end zone. So the Philadelphia Spinners capitalizing at the end of the first quarter. Nick Hiranet with the D, and then quick thinking there to the end zone. Billy Sickles really never came downfield to play any defense, just stayed in the end zone.
There was no reason for him to, especially with DC just didn't seem to know what to do on offense. Norman was just holding the disc there, looking for a deep shot, when really he should be looking to distribute the disc downfield somewhere else. The throw that he took, that throw was open 4 seconds ago. He had to throw that earlier. And here we have Nick Hiranet just being so aware of the time and the situation. He's obviously trying to make that catch right away. They could have used another player on the mark there, but it seems like every time Hiranet is involved in a play from this sideline going up to that end zone, something incredible happens.
Welcome back to Milwaukee, Oregon. And our game this afternoon between the Seattle Rainmakers and the Portland Stags, with Portland leading by 6, 12-6. And we're just about ready to start the second half. Point 6 Socks, the official sock sponsor of Major League Ultimate. Check out www.point6, and that's the number 6.com, for their full line of performance merino wool socks. And if you have a corporate trip, outing coming up, if so, you want to charter a private bus or a minibus or a party bus from busrental.com, a U.S. Coachways company. Bus travel is one of the safest, greenest, and most affordable ways to get your group to an event. If you're going with a group, trust busrental.com. Enter the coupon code MLUBUS and get additional savings and VIP treatment. We have a 12-6 score here, Will. What's your take on the first half?
Well, it was definitely a tale of two quarters. We saw 12 points in the first quarter, 6 points in the second quarter, which was quite incredible to see that after such a high-scoring half that the Stags were able to adjust their defense and stop the Rainmakers from getting that first look they wanted upfield, have to work for the disc, and got a number of turns right off the bat.
And that is exactly right. The tale of two halves. The team scored early, often, and almost at will on each other in the first quarter. And then Seattle didn't get a score until 2:40 to go in the second quarter. And they only got one score. Portland picked up 5 in that second period.
Yeah, it was also right off of Seattle's full timeout they took to regroup. They got the score, stopped the bleeding, but the Stags just poured it on.
Teams are coming out to start the second half. And let us remind you that Innova is the proud sponsor of Major League Ultimate and its incredible athletes. As their official disc of MLU, the Innova Pulsar has quickly become the disc of choice at Ultimate's highest level. Visit www.innovadiscs.com to find a dealer near you. And Canterbury is a proud sponsor of Major League Ultimate. Power your game with Canterbury. Visit CanterburyUS.com today. The destination for your team's custom uniforms. Canterbury, committed to ultimate. Teams are both on the field, getting ready to start this third quarter. If you're just joining us, you missed a whale of a first half. Portland out in front, 12-6. There were 12 goals scored, as Will just said, in the first quarter alone, 6 in the second. The teams were just going deep with each other, and the defense was not holding them. They were finding their cutters, and they were dropping the disc in. Seattle is going to pull to Portland to start the second half.
It's like Cam Bailey on the pull.
Cam Bailey from the 10. And here we are, ready for second half action. Portland's going to spread the field, let the disc hit, and roll dead at about the 32-yard line. Coming very quickly downfield, Rafe Hayes with it. Rafe's going to play it back. That's to Smith, comes across field. Now they're going to go. Rafe Hayes all by himself behind the Seattle defense and pulls it out of the air for a Portland score in 17 seconds.
And that was really, while the Stags offense was looking good there, that was just the Rainmakers defense not communicating properly there. We saw Ben Beener coming under as Hayes was going deep, pointing to another defender being like, you pick him up. Never got picked up. Wide open.
All by himself. So Rafe Hayes picks up a goal. Sort of like in football where safety is supposed to come across, and there was no safety there.
Exactly. It was just a little bit of miscommunication. We'll probably see them clean that up and not give goals away quite that easily. It did look like they're working on a bit of a new offense. Lots of zony play there.
Stephen Rice puts it back into play for Portland to Seattle. It's going to hang, come down about the 9. Clock starts. Dewey Valentine with it between the hashes, coming our side. That's to Gusson, and he drops it. And so it'll be the turnover going to Portland. Dan Supnick with the disc, hoping to give off to somebody. Does to Bowie, back to Supnick. Cross the field. Stephen Rice with it. Stephen's going to hammer it back to Bowie.
Wow.
Pulls it out of the air with a jump. Now it goes into the end zone, and that's Peter Woodside bringing it in for another Portland score.
I was
30 seconds it took Portland to score yet again. It's 14-6.
the way the Portland offense was moving there, I was looking for the hammer, but that was not the hammer look I was expecting, and that was a great play by Bowie to pull that out of the air the way he did. I did not think he was coming down with that.
Bowie had to sky for that one.
Certainly did.
And Bowie is only 6 feet, so he had to go up. He had to make the jump to bring that one down.
It's amazing to think he is only 6 feet and looking out of the line right now and being like, he's definitely not the tallest guy out there. He's quite down there at 6 feet, so.
Portland will pull from our left to our right. Stephen Rice flies the disc. Gonna hang, come down in the Seattle end zone. Comes out quickly to Dewey Valentine. Valentine plays it back. That's to Rupp. Rupp to Valentine. Just playing catch right about the 10-yard line. Walton with it, near side. Going to go back across. Very tight defense by Portland. Rice and Frainer very tight on their defense. That's Bowie now against Hauser. Hauser lets it go.
Just past diving Davis.
And Seattle is going to go deep with it now. Pulls it in. Yes, that's Evan Klein, the second-year cutter out of Virginia Tech, pulls it in for the Seattle goal. 8:33 to play in the third quarter. 14-7 Portland.
So that's definitely something you'll see with a bid like that from Davis where you don't get the disc. Hauser had that easy throw up the field because he had no mark while Davis was on the ground past him trying to get up after.
And again, the cutter going in from behind, getting past the defense, and just getting the disc to them.
Yeah. Sure, it's pretty much what Seattle was looking for there. Looks like their offense is readjusting to get a little bit more on track this quarter.
Klein lets her sail. And Portland takes possession, goes on the offense at the hash marks. Coming our side, that's Hancock with it. Seattle's given Portland a little bit of room to work right now, as Portland quickly moves upfield with little throws. Smith is going to go deep. Smith is going to Bjorklund, and it's knocked away.
Ooh.
By Dan Greeley. Greeley went up high for the Rainmakers, knocked it away from Bjorklund. There is a whistle, and it looks like there is a foul. And they're calling the officials together to talk about it.
Looks like the officials didn't I saw one official signaling clear, heard the whistle, so a couple different vantage points seeing different things.
One thing about the referees at Major League Ultimate, is they aren't afraid to confer to make sure they get it right.
Yeah, and it's definitely when you don't have replays, it's getting the right call for a deep shot like that is pretty important to get.
It could be a turning point in the ball game. If Seattle gets it, they break Portland's momentum, and they head the other way, and they could very easily, seeing what we've seen in the first half and now in the first part of the third quarter, come back and score again. And they are quite capable of whittling away at this lead and what they did with San Francisco last week. 7:38 to go, 14-7, 7:38 to go in the third period, 14-7. Portland out in front. That is considered a foul by the Rainmakers. Portland will keep the ball, keep the disc. And they will put it in play Seattle's going to get the disc. It was on the Stags. So Seattle gets the disc. They go back on the offense from deep in their own end zone. Seattle's coming up, long throw. Oh, almost. That was Drew Lockhart, just couldn't get to it as the disc falls incomplete, and Portland gets another break. Ted Jansen with the disc. Goes cross field. Adamson goes over, and that was Fitzpatrick who threw the disc, and it was intercepted by Seattle. So the Rainmakers come back onto the offense, working at their own 30. Beener with it. Dishes it off. Klein plays it back. That's Brink. Brink to Klein. Klein coming up to about the 40. Hits Lockhart there. And Klein looking for someone to get free. Referees are beginning to count the stall, so he lets it go. Brink deep in his own territory, looking deep. Who's he going to? Knocked away. He was going to try to hit Jesperson, and it was knocked away by Tad Jansen of the Stags. So Jansen dishes to Bjorklund, and the Stags go back on the offense. Smith with it. Coming up to Purston, to Fitzpatrick at about the 41-yard line, far side. Fitzpatrick is going to throw. It's going to hang up in the wind. Seattle's going to take it. No! The wind brought it back to Cody Bjorklund, who grabs it and quickly tosses it off to Timmy Purston for another score. Did Portland bite the bullet on that one?
Yeah, that was Bjorklund just reading the disc a little bit better than everyone else, realizing that disc was not going to sit quite there and just going to blade away and picking up that easy goal.
15-7, Portland leads, 5:54 to go in the third quarter, and that was a that was a lucky wind hole on that one.
Certainly, you'd expect the Seattle defense to be able to pick that one off pretty easily, but just fell a little bit more in than they were expecting, and Bjorklund gave a lot of hustle to be there because a lot of players, they see that disc and Seattle's defense where it was, you're not trying to make a play on it. And he kept the play alive by being there.
Portland puts the disc back into play, giving it to Seattle. Sun in the eyes. We're starting to see the shadows as Valentine has it for Ostergaard. Ostergaard's going deep. Who's going to come down with it? Knocked away by Penner. Portland will get the disc. I was starting to say we're starting to see the shadows of the stadium move ever so slowly onto the field. As Portland works out of their own end of this field. Penner with it. Coming up to Lafferty. Little quick throws, Woodside. They're just going 10 yards at a time here, the Stags.
Frainer's getting left fairly open here.
With it, very tight defense by Seattle as Portland gets down to about the 20. Very, very tight D by the Rainmakers. They are all over the Portland Stags. Karen's with it. Gives off to Supnick. Supnick looking, can't find anybody. Nobody's moving at this point. Now finally does. That's Shaw, who goes over to Penner. Portland back to Shaw. Very, very tight mark by Seattle. Great defense by the Rainmakers. Portland is not finding anything to do as far as breaking anyone open, and they're going to go back to about the 22-yard line with Shaw looking for someone to Supnick. Supnick going to go into the far corner, throws it away. Had a man open, cutting from left or from right to left, and almost got another Portland score, but it was just out of the hands
of Brandon Lafferty there, just laying out, not quite getting it.
Brandon Lafferty, the rookie cutter, almost had it.
It was a great lane that Supnick found, but just got pushed a little bit more by the wind than he was hoping.
So Seattle takes over. Dewey Valentine with it. Gusson. And now Seattle starts to move. Ostergaard to Breen. Breen's coming down. He's going to throw it long and over the head of Brink. So Portland brings it down. That was Woodside on the interception. Supnick lets it fly into the end zone and out of bounds.
It was a tough lane to hit because Frainer there can't go out of bounds to get the disc. Hauser has a little bit more freedom to go out of bounds, get the D where Frainer would be out of bounds if he got it there.
So Frainer couldn't bring it down, goes out of bounds. Seattle takes possession, working just outside their own end zone. There's a whistle as Seattle goes long. Hauser brings it down, but there is a timeout on the field. 2 minutes and 55 seconds to go in the third period. Portland 15, Seattle 7, and that was a great throw by Seattle if there hadn't been a timeout call just prior to that.
Yeah, it's the coaches were getting worried about how Seattle's moving the disc and wanted to, get some fresh legs out there, get some people that have not been on the field to give another look at getting this down the field.
15-7, Portland leads, 2:55 to go, third period. I don't know if you can hear this crowd below us, but they are just going nuts down there, screaming for their Stags. Good contingent of Seattle fans, I might add, who I will guarantee you are not screaming for their Stags.
Yeah.
They're screaming for their Rainmakers.
Yeah, you could definitely hear that Rainmakers raindrop call on the Seattle pole, which is quite famous up in their stadium. But wow.
This is a full 1 minute timeout.
Those fans are really getting into it.
Portland's breaking the huddle and coming back out. Cairns, Woodside, Supnick, Shaw.
Yeah, it looks like
Lafferty and
Woodside.
And Frainer, I believe.
Yeah. I believe that's the same lineup that they had before the timeout, so they electing not to change who they have out on the field.
Well, they were doing well, so as long as they're performing.
It looks like a fairly similar lineup for the Rainmakers as well.
Dewey Valentine is going to put the disc in play. He is marked by Sam Frainer.
We should be watching for something early to Brad Hauser, I believe.
I think they're going to run Hauser down for the long pass. It worked last time. Gusson with it. He dishes off. They are looking to go deep, can't do it. Portland's defense is all over the Rainmakers right now. Justin back with the disc to Dewey Valentine. Valentine comes to our side. That's Hauser at about the 31. Hauser's going to let it fly. He's got a man open. That's Entz, and it's complete at the 11. Entz comes to the left side, complete to Robin Breen, the second-year cutter, and he picks up the goal. So with 2:23 to go in the third quarter, it is 15-8 Portland.
Well, looks like I got that one the reverse of what was going on with Hauser throwing it deep instead of receiving it deep. But that's how offenses go. They'll trick you like that.
Seattle is making a comeback. They are slowly but surely chipping away here. And this is what they did in the first game here in Portland. They started to chip away in the second half. They got close, but they ran out of time.
And the clock is always your enemy when you're trying to get back into a game.
Portland's going to receive the disc at about the 25-yard line. Tight defense by Seattle. That's one thing that they have done in this second half that they did for a time in the first, but they truly let it get a little bit loose. And now they're getting back to a very tight mark. As Hancock lets it fly across field, knocked away by Evan Klein. Seattle picks up the disc.
Yes, with how open McGinn was there, that was definitely something Klein was baiting to get thrown.
So Seattle goes on the offense. They're working from their own end. Oh, and there is a collision between Rafi Hayes and can't make out his number from here. Johnny Stacy. That is going to get Rafi a banned as a flagrant foul. That's the first flagrant we've seen this week.
Yeah,
after a slew of them last week against San Francisco.
And I'm a bit surprised. It did not look like such a dangerous bid from Hayes there, but apparently there certainly was a lot of contact there.
So Seattle puts the disc back into play at about the 39-yard line, playing at their own end of the field right now. And, did he catch it? Yes, he did. Oh, my goodness. That was Johnny Stacy who had to go all out to bring that one up off the turf. And the air, now there is a whistle. Tad Jansen went up to break that pass up, putting Christian Brink to the turf. He's going to come off. And coming in for Seattle is Ben Breener. Jansen, great play on that.
Yeah.
Split the Seattle receivers.
Again with a lot of contact, but he clearly got into the space before the offense did.
So Portland is knocking at the door once again. Jansen is going to get it right back from Rafi Hayes for the score. So not only does Jansen, not only does he break up the play for Seattle and cause the turnover, but he gets the goal too.
Nice little bookends for him there off that quick give and go with Hayes.
1:02 to go in the third quarter. It is a 16-8 Portland lead. And Seattle is watching this as Portland continues to be able to react when Seattle gets back into it and gets closer. Portland reacts with yet another goal or a breakup on on offense or on defense, I should say, and they get right back, add the extra point in, and the extra point in, and the extra point in. Even though Seattle is scoring this half pretty much when they want to. Dewey Valentine with the disc. He's double teamed there, so he's going to play it back. And then gets it back. Coming near side. That's Entz at the 45. Minor Shaggins on him. Back to Dewey Valentine. They're going to go away from us right now. Walton with the disc. Walton's going to play it up. Lots of time that. Oh, here comes Seattle. Coming down. Knocked away. Knocked away.
And it was sitting on Brian Penner's back, and Brad Hauser thought he might be able to get that disc before it touched the turf.
Penner breaks it up, so the Stags go back on offense, and they throw it away. About 5 seconds to go, third period. Seattle on the attack. Are they going to be able to get a goal before the quarter ends? And no, Hauser had it all by himself in the end zone and just couldn't hold on. So at the end of 3, it is Portland 16, Seattle 8. And it has been a heck of a ball game. Do you have a team trip or corporate outing coming up? If so, charter a private bus, a minibus, or a party bus from busrental.com, a U.S. Coachways company. Bus travel is one of the safest, greenest, and most affordable ways to get your group to any event. If you're going with a group, trust busrental.com. Enter coupon code MLUBUS and get additional savings and VIP treatment. And Skippy, the official peanut butter of the Portland Stags, made with the funnest peanuts ever. Skippy, yippee.
Yippee indeed.
I was just noticing down on the Seattle bench that they were giving Brad Hauser, his teammates, a terrible razzing for dropping that disc. But both teams are in the championship game. We're going to be here next week to bring it to you. This is, some people would call it a tune-up, but I don't think so. These teams are pretty well tuned up.
They might be throwing a few different looks. There's been a bit more zone I've seen from the Rainmakers than I've seen in most of their other games, so they might be trying that out, see if it works against the Stags. It's definitely slowed down the offense a little bit, but it hasn't produced any turns, which doesn't matter how slow you make an offense if you're not getting the disc.
That's true. You can't score without it. Long discussions by the coaches. Portland's just breaking out of their huddle right now. And Seattle is still in theirs, having a long discussion here.
We haven't seen a break from the Seattle defense yet, so it's probably something that they're looking to get their defense a little bit more fired up and get some points on the board on that side.
We've got 10 minutes to play. It's a 16-8 Portland lead on what has been turned out to be an actually beautiful day for the game.
Yeah, I was double checking about the stand covers. I was making sure that the rain wasn't going to come in on the stands, and hasn't been a concern at all.
These two teams are blessed with when they play here, because we haven't had rain at a game this year, and it just dumped all day long, off and on all day long, coming up to this game.
With the number of practices and preseason stuff I've been with the Stags, I'm surprised how few games I've been at that have been just rainy or overcast. They seem to just always get the right days for the great weather down here in Portland.
So we are ready to start quarter 4. In this, the final regular season game for both these teams. One of them will end up going to the championship game on July 16th back in Philadelphia. But both of them will be going to the Western Championship game next Saturday right here in Milwaukee.
Stags are very excited to be hosting this game again and looking to break their streak.
Stephen Rice starts the fourth quarter. Down to the 5-yard line. Seattle moves quickly. Dewey Valentine with it. Between the hash marks. Going far side. He faked me out on that one. And just barely got that off. That was Rupp, and he was lucky that got complete. Hauser's got it now. We're playing just about the center of the field. Dewey Valentine with it.
Bit of a ridiculous throw, so.
Coming near side. Entz is marked by Woodside. Going back to Dewey Valentine. And the Rainmakers are trying to work across, and they do. That was Rupp. Long throw, going long. Everybody's up for it. Portland comes down with it. Ostergaard was the intended receiver, but Portland brings it down. And, almost an interception by Seattle coming back. But Portland pulls it down. Walton made a great effort on that. Woodside with the dish. Up to Supnick at the 45, going to the hash marks. Far side, coming near side now with Minershagen. Going deep, here we go. Woodside, yes. Portland scores again. 17-8. Portland Stags out in front. 8:47 to go in the game.
That's just one of those things I love about watching Minershagen play, is he is not scared to put those discs. He sees his target going, and he just, I'm just going to put that out and let them make the play.
Lets them run underneath it and pull it out.
Exactly.
So after the first quarter, where it was pretty doggone, there was basically no defense in the first quarter. We scored 12 goals in the first quarter. It was 7-5, Portland out on front by 2. 6 goals in the second quarter. Portland was out 12-6. And now they're up 17-8 right here in the top of the top of the fourth quarter. The disc is in the air. Seattle's going to move on to the offense. It bounces a couple of times, comes down. Dewey Valentine quarterbacking this club as he comes near side. Stacy to Dewey Valentine. Tough D by Portland. Dewey Valentine has to lay out to pick that one up, but he does, far side. Now he's going to come back to Rupp, and they're coming hash marks near side of the stadium. Bailey to the middle of the field. Klein. Seattle is now just trying to pick up 5-10 yards at a time as Rupp holds the disc and then lays it back to Klein. They're playing this 5-yard, 10-yard game, trying to get somebody open. Do they? Yes, Dewey Valentine with the score.
And that was just a great leading pass from Evan Klein, just putting that so that Dewey Valentine could run onto it. Defender didn't have a shot at it because just out in front.
8:01 to go, fourth quarter. 17-9. Dewey Valentine pulls that one in. And they click off yet one more point as they move closer to Portland. Portland's bringing everybody off. Going to change a line here as they're going to get the pull from the Rainmakers. That was a great play by the Rainmakers. They got behind the Portland defense, and were able to just sail that disc in.
Yeah, throws like that aren't easy, but you got players on the Rainmakers that can put those up, and it's just so hard to defend against.
Jansen to Smith. To Bjorklund. And we're moving upfield with Davis. Going to play it back to Jansen. And coming near side, that's Hancock. Portland just playing catch, their side of the 45. Now we're going down to Bjorklund in Seattle territory. Cody's going to hammer it, going deep. Timmy Purston. Oh, and broken up by the Rainmakers.
This is a great play by Klein to just put his hands up and get in the way to try and block that when he couldn't see where the disc was.
Great play by Evan Klein. Absolutely great play. He'll put it back in to play for Seattle. Goes to Massler and then to Rupp. Seattle have had some great defensive plays this game, and they're going to Bjorklund went up and knocked the disc away from Cam Bailey, but they say no. Seattle, there was a foul, and Seattle keeps possession of the disc. So Bjorklund is on defense against Bailey. He's marking him at the 20, and Bailey just sort of kicks it off to Rupp. Seattle looking to grab another quick score here and whittle down this margin that Portland has right now.
And get their first break of the game.
Here we go. Did they get it? No, they threw it away.
Ooh, just tried to punch that in a little too hard.
That was Biener on the throw, and he just sailed it out of the end zone. So although Seattle was close, they couldn't capitalize on getting a goal.
Her delay of game called. Looking like another one of these ticky-tack calls where they weren't quite in the right position when they started the point.
Trevor Smith got a delay of game call. Now he will put the disc into play about halfway back into the end zone. There's the whistle. And it's complete. We're out of the end zone now. That's Woodside with it. Woodside's going to go long, looking for Bjorklund. Yes, Cody Bjorklund pulls it out exactly at the 50. Cody turns, goes deep. Who's got it? Oh, in and out of the hands of Aaron Adamson. Had that disc right in his hands and just couldn't hold on. So Seattle takes over at their goal line, the 10. Rupp put it in play. He gets it back. Bailey. To Rupp.
Just can't quite find something downfield yet.
They are just playing catch, looking for someone to break and try to get that disc to move, and there's a whistle. There was a pick by Seattle. That will move the offense back to inside Seattle's goal line. They're about halfway down the 20-yard end zone. The whistle blows. Seattle has the dish, and they go across field with it. Very tight marking by Portland. Seattle, threw it away. Incomplete. It was headed for Biener, but he couldn't hold on to it as the Stags come back very quickly on that quick strike offense for the score.
We see bookends for Aaron Adamson getting that block after the near tip catch and then getting the goal. And it looks like Portland has called another 20-second timeout to get that midfield pull.
It's an 18-9 score. Portland out in front. We have 4:01 to play in this game. And that was that quick strike Portland Stag offense. You get the disc back and you let it fly.
Yeah, it could be very difficult to transition from offense right back onto defense. And so the Stags really look to capitalize on that 1 or 2 seconds where the defense doesn't quite know where they need to be because they were just on offense.
So Portland capitalizes again. Then they call a timeout, so they'll pull from midfield just to the left of the Milwaukee M. And here we go. The disc is going to sail into the end zone. Seattle's going to let it drop. Now time starts running. Dewey Valentine has been quarterbacking this club all afternoon, and he's now got the disc as he helps his teammates move it up field. That's Hauser with it now, and then Gusson. Gusson to Hauser, near side by the hash. And Seattle, little 5 and 10 yard throws as they try to break this Portland defense that has just been sort of stymieing them here in the second half. Dewey Valentine looked like he was going to go long, didn't. Comes to Gusson, near side, and then off to Brink. And now they're going to go long, and can they get it? Who's going? And it is, yes! A score for Seattle. That's Ostergaard for the Rainmakers.
With a big throw from Isaac Entz, their tall guy.
3 minutes, 12 seconds to go in the match. 18-10. Portland still leads, but Seattle has scored the last 2 goals. And it looks like Seattle is calling a timeout so they can pull the disc from, again, midfield. And yes, the officials are signaling that Seattle had called the timeout, so they will pull the disc from midfield. Portland lines up at about their own 10-yard line.
Seattle has been very good at the midfield pull this year. They've been able to convert a lot of these pretty quickly, so we'll see how they do. They haven't been able to convert one yet today, but never count these guys out.
No, and they, with 3 minutes and 12 seconds, with Seattle's offense, they could easily get back into this game. They're only 8 points down, and in 3 minutes, so much can happen in 3 minutes and 12 seconds in MLU.
Be pretty hard for them, but they're not going to give up yet.
I'm just the eternal optimist.
Yeah. Can't fault you for that.
Seattle with the pull after the timeout. It's going to be picked up by Portland. They're moving left to right. McGinn with the disc, and Ben lets it come up near side. That's Purston with it. Timmy back to McGinn. To Jansen. To McGinn. McGinn goes out to the 40 to Rafi Hayes. Rafi turns, lets it fly, and yes, score. Timmy Purston.
They go there for number 13, Timmy Purston.
2:42 to go in the ball game. Every time that Seattle scores, Portland scores back.
Yeah, and it's haven't called Purston's name too many times today, but he is definitely one of those guys that he draws so much attention on defense that when he's not getting the disc, it's because he's letting someone else get the disc. So nice to see he's getting rewarded for all the work he puts on the field already.
Timmy Purston is number 1 in the league with goals, with coming into today with 27.
Yeah.
So he's gotten his fair share and deserves to have the defense pay some attention to him.
Oh, for sure.
Portland pulls. They didn't call a timeout, so they pull from the 10, and it's going to go down to the 10, and Seattle picks it up. Dewey Valentine. It's coming up here to the right side. That's Ostergaard. Looking for somebody to give to. Ostergaard's going to throw it away, though. He was trying to hit Gusson, and it went out of bounds, so it'll be a turnover for Portland. Cairns with the disc. Tight defense as it's been all this half from Seattle. Woodside just gives it off to Minershagen. And then goes to Frainer to the middle of the field. That's Rice. as Portland plays on the far side, moving out to about the 25-yard line. Stags looking to put another one on the board as they move the disc around from side to side of the field. And they dropped just an easy pass as Portland just lost concentration on that one.
Yeah, just easy drop. And
Hauser with it near side. To Dewey Valentine.
This
To
is really,
Gusson.
really not what Seattle needs. They're taking a lot of time off the clock at this point.
The short little passes. And here comes a long throw headed for Hauser, and it drops incomplete. It was just over his head. Less than a minute to play in the ball game. 50 seconds about. It's a 19-10 Portland lead, and they're going to walk away with yet another win over the Rainmakers today. That's Minor Shagan across the way with a disc. It's in the air. Portland's going to bring it down. Yes, they are. That's Woodside. Woodside very quickly dishes off.
Thrown from the ground there just because.
And there we go. And Woodside gets it back to make it a 20-10 score with 26.2 seconds to go in the game. Woodside brought that long pass down, ended up on the ground. From the ground, flipped it, got back up, got into the end zone, and picked up another score for Portland.
Yeah, and he can throw from the ground as long as that's where he establishes his pivot. So, establishing his pivot as on the ground there means he can throw there. Just means that if he doesn't make that throw, he can't stand up.
And now you've heard it from the expert, exactly why he can do that. 26.4 seconds to go. Portland leads by 10. It's all over but the shouting. Portland is going to win this one and go into the division championship game next week against these same Seattle Rainmakers after defeating Seattle in every game they've played this year.
And I believe with this score, we're going to see 2 records broken for the Stags. They're going to take over the single-season scoring record for the MLU and single-season points against, having the least points scored against them all season.
Seattle just running up the clock here, although they would love to get another score on the board, and it looks like they're going to. No, knocked away at the last second. That was Aaron Adamson who knocked it out of the air for Portland. Portland with 5 seconds to go. They're just going to hold on to this, let the clock run out, and that's it. That is it. Portland has picked up another win over the Seattle Rainmakers, the team that they will meet here next Saturday for the Western Division Championship Series. Innova is proud to support Major League Ultimate and its incredible athletes. As the official disc of MLU, the Innova Pulsar has quickly become the disc of choice at Ultimate's highest level. Visit www.innovadiscs.com to find a dealer near you. 6.6 Socks, the official sock sponsor of Major League Ultimate. Check out www.point6, and that is the number 6.com, for their full line of performance merino wool socks. Will, what's your take on this headed for next week?
Well, the Rainmakers clearly have some things they're going to want to work on. Next week, I expect them to have more people coming down. They had a few of their handlers missing, so their offense might have had a couple areas where they weren't flowing like they wanted to. A couple of defensive handlers not there, so I expect to see a better game from the Rainmakers next week.
Okay. Skippy, the official peanut butter of the Portland Stags, made with the funnest peanuts ever. Yippee, Skippy. And if you have a team trip or a corporate outing coming up, if so, charter a private bus, minibus, or party bus from busrental.com, a U.S. Coachways company. Bus travel is one of the safest, greenest, and most affordable ways to get your group to an event. If you're going with a group, trust busrental.com. Enter coupon code MLUBUS and get additional savings and VIP treatment. The final score here today, the Portland Stags with the win, 20 over the Seattle Rainmakers, 10. From Milwaukee, I'm George Walker, along with my sidekick here. Will and I will be here next week for the MLU Championship Saturday on MLU Live. Join us then and have a great week.